Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers of all ages, welcome back to Studio C. It's been a hot minute since I did some video work down in here. Done a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of straightening, a little bit of reorg, and I think it's time we get back into the swing of things. And I'm going to do something today that 2 weeks ago I had not even seriously considered doing, but after last weekend, I feel like I need to, and that is we're going to talk about a new Fantasy Flight game called Star Wars Unlimited. If you go back in the Wayback Machine, right, just about 30 years, I was one of the early adopters and huge fanatics of Decipher's original Star Wars CCG back in late 1995 when it premiered. And I played that game religiously until it shut down after, 5-6 years, I guess, when they lost the license in 2001 because of politics and Hasbro and prequels and all kinds of things. I was a huge fan of the IP then, I still am today. I loved that game, and I did not have another Star Wars card game to play until about 5 or 6 years ago when a friend introduced me to Star Wars Destiny. I was very skeptical of Destiny at first. Years ago, I'd had a bad experience of randomized card decks mixed with randomized dice rolls in a collectible game and was like, no. But after playing Destiny, I took a demo. My wife and I went to Celebration in 2017. I worked the FFG booth, demoing the game for the weekend. I was kind of sold. I was hooked, basically. The game, yes, still had the randomization in it, but there was enough depth and enough strategy that it was really, really interesting. And I loved Destiny. I really enjoyed that one, and it kind of broke my heart when it failed, right? When FFG pulled the plug, like, we can't keep this going, because it felt like in the last year leading up to that, they had just really gotten the game into a very, very good, very interesting place where you could experiment, do all kinds of amazing things, different decks, different characters, and then it all kind of came apart. And I remember when, I guess about a year-ish ago, maybe last summer, maybe late last spring, they announced this game, and I immediately went, I'm not. No. Fool me once, shame on me. No, whatever. You know what I mean? And it was like, no, I'm not. I have no interest in that. But I have a really persistent group of local players here in Houston. And we're all still friends from the Destiny days. And many of them were, I won't say immediately hooked, but came around. And they eventually basically said, okay, look, you should come to a pre-release. It's $30. It's a one-time cost. Come to the pre-release. Come hang out. We haven't all seen each other since before COVID. Like, come on, it'll be fun. And I agreed. I was like, okay, you're right. Let's go. This will be fun. I had such a good time and enjoyed the game so much, I signed up for a second pre-release in the same weekend. And so here I am, about a week after all of that, sitting down to kind of give you my first impressions of the game. This is the first impressions of a former Decipher player for many years, right? And a former Destiny player much more recently. So let's talk about Unlimited. Let's talk about what I like. There's a lot to like about this game, in my opinion. First of all, one of the things that I absolutely adore about it is how mechanically simple it truly is. One of the things that made the old Decipher game very challenging to teach to new players was the mountain of rules they had to climb. If you were a latecomer to that game, the game released in late 95, if 2-3 years later you were coming into the game around the time Special Edition released, that sort of thing, you had a very thick rule book to kind of catch up on. And it's early days, right? Unlimited may get to that point. I doubt that. But even now, the base mechanics are so fundamentally simple that you can both learn and teach this game in a matter of minutes. Even faster than Destiny. And believe me, I know. I worked 2 different celebrations demoing Destiny. So I know what it takes to demo that game a lot. And this would even be faster and simpler. That, to me, is a really big selling point. It is a tremendously mechanically easy to learn system. It's a lot of fun, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you're put off, if you're a little concerned, if you had some experience with Destiny or going all the way back to the old Decipher game, you're like, this one is much simpler, much faster to pick up, trust me. Another thing that I love about this game is how quickly it plays. When you used to play the old Decipher game, right? It was what, an hour for a single game, an hour, and usually a tournament play. I want to say it was an hour time limit for a single game. You had a lot to get done in an hour, right? Here, you know, it feels like they've done a really good job balancing strategy and speed. Whoever it is that came up with 30, right? This big 30 number here for the bases. This is genius, right? Because at the end of the day, this is what it all boils down to, right? The numbers on the cards, the base value, all of that dictates how quickly the game plays. And because of the numbers we have, the game plays relatively quickly. Your first few, obviously, as you learn it mechanically, will go a little slower. But by the time you've played through a half dozen or 8 games, you know, you'll be slowing down to make strategic or tactical choices, but you won't be baffled, and the game will play fairly quickly. You can probably play, you know, 2, 3 of these games in an hour, if not faster, depending on how your deck draws once we get into constructed. Most of these impressions are based off of sealed decks, so take that with a grain of salt. But I have a hard time imagining that it's going to be radically different. Another thing that I have so far adored about this game is the variety. Wondrous variety, as Morgan Freeman once said on camera. And it is really, really amazing, right? The way they've designed the aspect system with, you know, you have the 4 different colors, right? Green, yellow, blue, and red, each representing different aspects, as they call them, which would be vigilance for blue, cunning for yellow, command for green, and aggression for red. On top of that, you have heroism, here represented by kind of the rebellion sort of looking symbol here under the Jinn, or this kind of villainous, almost vaguely imperial looking symbol here underneath Krennic. And so you have 6 aspects, and within those you can combine up to at least 2, or you can even go pure color. There is a lot of deck design space to still be explored. I'm seeing a lot of videos on YouTube. You look around for Star Wars Unlimited content, like, oh, these are the best decks. And I'm going, the game isn't really even out yet. I realize we can play online, we can play on Tabletop Simulator and all kinds of craziness. But the reality to me is that we don't really know. We don't really know. And if there's anything you know, if there's anything I've learned from all the years I've played CCGs, it's that you may go on and grab the best net deck of the day, but that doesn't mean you can win with it. And when you run up against someone who has built their own thing and they know it very well, you can be in a lot of trouble because they probably know how to deal with your deck, but you've never seen what they're playing. Chances are you are going to struggle a little bit, or at least have to come up with some kind of strategy on the fly. So I'm of the opinion that even though right now we're saying, oh, you know, it's already solved, the game is already solved, I don't agree. I genuinely don't agree. I think there's a lot of design space still to be explored, even with only one set. And certainly as the sets grow, decks right now that don't look appealing, certain color combinations you think, man, this one's right on the cusp, it's just missing a little something, that could be here in the next set or the set after. And then suddenly, you know, it's wide open. That's one thing we saw with Destiny, right? In Destiny, in the early days, there were some very popular decks, right? If you played Destiny, you probably remember the old Django Veers deck. I think it was, pretty sure it was Django Veers. And in the first 6 weeks the game was out, that deck was all the rage. And then, but even before Premiere was like done, that deck had faded. People had sort of learned how to deal with it, come up with other things that they liked better, and it was just kind of like, and you never really saw it again. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a very similar story arc with Star Wars Unlimited. There's just so much here to explore. Even with just one set, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to more cards because what I loved about Destiny was once the card pool grew, just the amount of available strategies just exponentially spiraled, and it was a ton of fun. Now, one of the criticisms that I've heard, at least lightly online, not really in person, but I've heard some people kind of criticize some of the art choices. And, you know, art's pretty subjective, right? Like to me, that's not so much a big thing. Even in Destiny, a game that I dearly loved, there were cards that I looked at the art and went, I wouldn't have picked that, but it's not my decision, right? Like, I don't care. And here in this game, I think you're going to see some of the same things. One of the things that I do like, however, is the way they have done alternate arts, right? Because these 4 cards here are all, you know, what they call the hyperspace versions of the cards. It's not terribly difficult to get hyperspace leaders, and I think they look fabulous. I think the hyperspace bases also look pretty good here. I've got a couple. This one's a foil, but I think that the borderless look of the hyperspace cards is particularly amazing. I think they've done a really good job with this, and I love these. Now, there's a lot of collecting, you know, to be done. If you're a big collector into this, that's probably not me, but I love that they included that aspect in the game. As they designed the game and laid out the art, they added that collectability for the people who want to chase it, and I think that's a very smart decision from a sales and marketing perspective. But I mean, the cards, you know, these are all leader cards. You know, you can look at the back sides of them. Here, we'll put Jen and Krennic back up here, and you can kind of have a peek, right? But just, you know, visually the cards are laid out very well. It's very easy to follow what's going on. I think, like I said, I think the hyperspace ones look great, and yeah, I don't have a problem here. If I could make one request, Fantasy Flight, if you're watching, bring back Darren Tan. Bring back Darren Tan. That man had the best Destiny art of almost any card I ever saw. He was fabulous. I loved meeting him at Celebration 19. I've still got a piece of his art signed on here on the wall behind the camera. You guys can't see it, but I love that guy. When I remember going to Celebration in 17 and seeing the Krennic and I think it was Krennic and Jen promos at the time, and he had done the art for both of them, and it was just stunning. So please bring back Darren Tan. He was amazing. I loved all of that. But I mean, these are the regular cards. I mean, these are the hyperspace cards. But even when you go look at regular cards with borders, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with this art design. This looks fabulous. And the set, you know, strategically the way the cards work, a lot of really tight design work in here that I really like. You know, for example, you know, you've got the keywords, obviously, you know, things play off of each other. Even within different factions, right? I've got heroism, I've got villainy, I've got Dodona and Veers. They're kind of mirrors of each other. And I think this is not only very clever, but very easy to understand, very easy to pick up that kind of symmetry. And I think they've done a really good job translating all of that to the table. Last but not least, I think one of the best things about this game is that it's still Star Wars, right? At the end of the day, it's still Star Wars. This is still a beloved IP, no matter what, I'll say in spite of what Disney has done to it, this is still one of the most beloved IPs out there. The rage people feel about what Disney has done to it is because they love it so much. And I think that there's a lot of strong potential for this game if FFG can avoid being FFG. Right? That's the one pitfall in all of this, right? The one question mark that I have so far, the one thing that I still don't trust. I love the mechanics, I love the art, I love them. I kind of like their marketing. I love all the accessories. They've done a brilliant job with deck boxes and mats and all of that rolling out of the gate all at the same time. It's very obvious that Asmodee went into this with a cohesive strategy of how they were going to push this all out the door at the same time. But at the end of the day, the question is, do you really trust FFG? I don't have an answer for that one yet. I don't have an answer for me for that one yet. I want to. I enjoy Star Wars so much. I enjoy the local community that we have for this game and games like it and the people so much that I want to believe. I want so desperately to believe. But it's hard right now. It's hard right now after dumping all my Destiny because I just knew it was like, this is never going to be the same again, right? It's just never going to be the same. And it wasn't, and it was unfortunate. And I had spent a lot of time, energy. I was a big collector of Destiny. I've still got a couple of boxes of spot glosses and promos laying around here on the set somewhere. I don't know that I'll collect this game. I don't know that I'll collect this game. I don't even know that I'll buy boxes. I'm likely, for me personally, that where I'm at right now, I think one of the things that I haven't mentioned that I really do like is they've designed it to be very draft and sealed friendly. I could very easily see myself playing sealed and draft for a while. Enjoying the game, enjoying the community, until I had the confidence, right, that, okay, this is going to be around. It's, you know, the player base is here, the support is here, The company is here, and that's what it's really going to take some confluence of all of those things, I think, to get me to stick with it. But I got to say, if you're out there, hankering for a new Star Wars game, a new CCG product, I think you should give this a look. I really do. I think there's a lot to like, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're not a Star Wars fan, maybe not. Maybe not. But I mean, if you are, I think you'll probably, like me, you'll probably fall in love pretty quickly. Anyways, guys, listen, appreciate you hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed this kind of one-off video here. It's possible we might be doing some more SW content here in the future. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I miss doing CCGs. And back when I was still playing Destiny, this channel, certainly on Twitch and on YouTube, either didn't exist or was so small that nobody would have watched anything I had done anyway. But times have changed. I've got a little bit of an audience now, and I think there's some potential here. So stay tuned. You might see some more around. Meantime, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll catch you around. Peace.